See if I can make this work. Go live, connect. Okay, where are we here? Should be live. Looks like we're live. Okay, cool. Wait. Why are we not live? What is going on here? It says I'm live. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. All right. What's up, everybody? Hans Johnson here, and just getting some stuff set up here on my side. And I am back at home, home number one, back in Texas. I was in Miami last week and didn't do a live on Friday, canceled it. Actually, no, I forgot. I actually did do a live. Danny and I were out and about eating the most awesome hamburgers in the world. There's this place in South Beach called the Big Pink, and they have insane burgers. And I forgot that I was supposed to do a live, and I thought, well, I don't want to miss out on the burger. So I did the live from the restaurant, and it was very lightly attended. We didn't get much of an email announcement out or anything like that. Hey, cool. All right. Hey, Tony. Hey, Marilu. How you doing? Anyway, it was fun. I don't know if you caught that live. We had a few good questions on there, actually. I wasn't talking. I was just typing the answering questions while I was eating my hamburger and having a freaking awesome IPA. So anyway, that one was fun. So I think it was the week before, which I had to cancel the live. That's what it was, because I was getting ready to travel the next day and just had too much going on. So anyway, Hans Johnson here. If there's guests attending, you can get more info about me at truewealthformula.com. You can learn about me quite a bit through my best-selling book, True Wealth Formula, that is sold on Amazon. 4.8 star rating, almost 500 ratings, I think, last time I looked. I don't know. We have all but discontinued the Wealth Builder app on the Apple App Store and Google Play. That app was also a 5-star rated app. Wealth Builder is basically a web app now, and our users and members are using the app on their mobile devices. Developing for the app stores is a real pain in the ass, unless you're a large company and want to sit there and fiddle around with all of their requirements and everything. It's so much easier and less expensive for us to push out updates real quick straight to the web. So, but up until the point that we stopped publishing updates, 5-star rated. So truewealthformula.com and wealthbuilder.io. And so I just want to make sure that, so today we'll do Q&A. If there's questions, you guys can type them out and I'll do my best to answer. I do want to give an update to my bear market 2025 thesis. I did a live in March 3rd, back when the markets were, had already started their correction, and I don't want to go into that too much. I'm on the daily. No, it's 2 hour here. This is there we go. Okay. So this is basically the S&P 500 futures market, which, we can look at the SPX. It's fine. That's the cash market. SPY would be more or less the same thing. March 4th, I gave so this is about a couple weeks into the correction there. I had done a live and I had laid out a number of things related to the new Trump admin and policies and communication that they were communicating regarding the tariffs, regarding essentially getting, the Doge initiative to get spending to cut the spending, and they needed to, the $7 trillion in U.S. debt and Treasury debt that needs to be rolled over this year, and the need to get interest rates on the 10-year down. Um, you know, you can go back and you can watch. I think it's still pinned, although I have gotten uh, this broadcast is, by the way, we usually do these for our subscribers only, but this is just open to the public. So if you guys want to add somebody and have them, catch this, it'd be a good way to do that. But anyway, so I laid out in my mind basically the whole idea politically, how it was very politically efficient to get the correction over with quick, that the Trump admin was very pro-business. And when you add up everything from the deportations of millions of illegals to, the whole everything that was going on. And I basically said that I just didn't see a way. I didn't see how there was not going to be a really good correction. The fake economic numbers that the Biden admin, which has totally been proven out now, they were pumping numbers and faking numbers and employment numbers and on and on and on. So, that to me, I said, in my mind, I said, they got to get this done in the first 6 months so that they can blame it on the last administration, blame it on Biden, which they did. And they're still doing. Essentially have time to then get the markets back up, get the economy back on track, flush out all the nonsense, reduce the spending, reduce the debt, the deficit, the debt, and basically thread the needle. So I'm missing all kinds of points because there was a whole bunch more to it than that back when I was going through the whole scenario. Let me just look over my list. Such a long list. I can't even remember it anymore. But you'll want to go back and you'll want to watch that. So since that time period, the market has obviously done just an insane, V bottom bounce. It literally bounced right off of the right off of this line here, which was the 2021 top, or first day of 2022, before the 22 bear market. And, we came down and all the way down there. And, so killer buying opportunity, just insane rally. We're having just insane days here, volatility, unreal. Since that time, we had a few gap up days here, which we can see better on the SPX. And now we're just kind of chopping around. We last Friday tested the 200-day moving average, which is this red line here, as well as the yellow line, the 100-day moving average. And we tested the 20-day moving average and bounced, and then gapped open on Monday. Trump did a reversal on, I think it was the EU tariffs last week. This stuff is crazy every week. It's something different. So, and then the market's opened really high, and just this has been this week. So here we are. Today we had this kind of like buy the dip day where the market dipped and then closed, close to the high. So it's time for me to, and I have been talking about this with our MGC Pro members a bit, as well as on some of these lives, but I would consider this. Hey, oh yeah, that's right. We are streaming on X right now. This is the first time I've ever tried doing it, so we might have some cool bros jumping on here. Anyway, so massive pivot by the Trump admin, and the main pivot is that. Well, let me back up a little bit. The Doge cuts and recommendations, fraud, abuse, waste has basically failed, and not because of Elon and his team and the efforts there, but Congress is just they're just absolute criminal pieces of shit. And I don't know any other way to actually say that, but it's funny that we live in this place we call it a democracy. And, where people are taught their entire lives that it's a representative government and that your vote counts. The reality of it is that, yeah, it counts, but, Congress doesn't work for you. They work for multinational corporations. And I think what's going on with the Trump administration is they're trying to bring back a rebalance in the system. And a lot of people, some people absolutely love Trump. Some people really don't like him at all. And politics is just dirty business, no matter what. Let me turn this thing down. Man, we've had just killer weather here in Texas Hill Country. Monster rainstorm last night. Yesterday, there was an insane freaking hailstorm up in Austin, Texas. Oh my God, like golf ball size hail, just destroying cars and homes. I feel really bad for people that park their cars out in the middle of like anywhere in Texas. I mean, don't buy a new car if you live in Texas, people. I mean, especially if you're not financially independent. And I mean, if you don't have like you're really stupid. I'm sorry. I should give my disclosures. I'm an equal opportunity offender. I honestly, most of the time, could give two shits about what you or other people think or say. I offend pretty much everybody. The people that have been around me for a long time, clients for a long time, they are used to me. But when I do these lives, sometimes I get a little loose and crazy, and so I apologize up front if I'm using language or saying things that are offensive to you. I really, I don't care. I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up on the street since I was 8 years old. I learned at a very early age, growing up in Hawaii on the Big Island, that if I didn't work, I didn't eat. And grew up in a very poor home. Raised by a single mom. Saw more, quote, dads in and out of my life than I could count. Embarrassed to say, but that's reality. And I just learned to fend for myself very early on. The thing about Gen X is we're kind of known for just leave me alone kind of thing. Like, we were the kids that didn't come home until the street lights came on, and we used to have BB gun wars in the freaking in the jungle. I don't know how none of us got our eye like blown out. I mean, just the crazy stuff we used to do. I guess it's just insane. And nowadays, kids don't even go outside. They just want to sit there on a screen all day long and play video games, and they're scared. They're scared to do everything, and the parents are terrible, freaking helmet generation, helmet and knee pads, so, give me a safe space because you're going to say something that makes me feel bad. I mean, anyway, I'm just going off on nonsense. So that's government. So Doge. So here's let me back up. I'm all over the place. Doge has all but failed. Okay. Congress, the Republican Congress, they work for multinational corporations. And I mentioned this back in the March 3rd, and several of my lives that I've done, that the reality, guys, is that government years ago, ever since 1971, when you went off the gold standard and you went into a full fiat system, and globalism, which is just labor arbitrage. Okay. And then, in the 90s and 2000s, 2010s, technology, the inequality issues that are going on, government, there's no government spending is a part of GDP. Okay. So you're never going to get government to stop spending. All right. And the moment they do, the whole economy is going to collapse. So they're not going to implement. I mean, it's so frustrating. I was like, yes, finally, and then every day or week they were on TV saying, oh, we found, billions of dollars of fraud here and 100 billion here and $1 trillion there and this and that. And nobody's prosecuted. Nothing's happening. So I guess, and then more recently, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on his interviews, and this kind of happened more. This has been going on for a few weeks now. Initially he was saying, look, we got to get keep the 10-year under 4.5 to roll over the debt and, blah, 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 blah. Now they're just saying, hey, we're going to grow our way out of this mess. Okay. So what does that mean to me? Now, I'm not even talking about the markets or a chart. Okay. If you want to ask me where this goes from here, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty extended. It had a nice pullback, you know. Um, last week had a good little pullback, and now it's chopping around. So it's trying to, and it looked like it was going to break the 200. So it popped above, and then that was the back test of the 200 DMA, and it gapped up. So and then today it looked like, oh shoot, we're going to go back and retest, but then it closed the day strong. So until it breaks through that 200 DMA on volume again, we're no longer in a bear market. I mean, the media told you were in a bear market at 20% down here, right as it turned around. Okay. That's stupid. Like that 20% definition is the most nonsensical, ridiculous. I mean, if you really wanted to use a good definition, use the 100 DMA. At least that would get you out. Look at these. Look, this is the S&P 500, and look at how it taps the 100. Right. And then it broke through and then came back up and then it tapped it. Right. And then here, I don't even know if we got one candle. Not a single one of these candles closed. These are daily candles closed below the 100 DMA. So, that would keep you with the trend. And then boom, you close below that, get out. Now we're above it, so I like that. As far as long-term trend goes, that's not that's not a day trading thing, but just long-term trend, where it's going, what's going on. So here we are, but basically they've said, we're going to grow our way out of this. So you got interest rates that are really sticky. You got spending. They're spending more money than, and anybody that thought that Trump was going to cut spending or that he wasn't going to spend, I mean, like, you have to understand, this isn't an imputation on what he says or who he is or anything like that, but you need to understand that he got famous by breaking the banks, right? Like he was the original too big to fail. Like, he went bankrupt many times, but he always got bailed out by the banks because the banks couldn't allow him to go bankrupt. So what do you think they're going to do with the United States of America? So they're going to just like, so what does that tell me? I think that at this point forward, the executive branch can do a little bit here and there. But at the end of the day, Congress has to actually codify things like Doge cuts and reforms and policy and all of that. So they're pushing this stupid, big, beautiful bill, one big, stupid, beautiful bill. And me and many people say, you know what? If you can't write it on a single piece of paper, single issue, single piece of paper, you're committing fraud against the American people, against the taxpayers. They love these big bills because nobody can read it. They pass them and they're told you got to pass it. You have no choice and, whatever. So it is what it is. This is the system. You have to focus on what you have control over, not the things you don't have control over. And what you have control over, guys, is yourself, your own mindset, your habits, how you manage money, how you spend money, your daily decisions, your health, your family, your relationships. And so I think that my updated thesis, I mean, maybe this was the bear market because global liquidity, M2, is increasing. They're going to spend. They're not going to stop spending. Okay. So this market since 2009 is all, and yes, there's been big volatility events, but those events always reverse on spending. Federal Reserve and fiscal, the government. So we still could use more of a pullback. Like, I mean, but it's kind of it's nonsense to try to predict those things because the market doesn't care, And so what you need to understand is that when the market is going up and it's grinding higher and gold has been strong and Bitcoin and, all of this stuff that's inflation. Okay. Housing is really soft right now. It's suffering. First of all, if you're not importing 1 million illegals a month or a year or whatever the freaking numbers are that none of us trust because we know it's all bullshit and they make it up on the fly and it can't be audited and nobody knows and there's no accountability and nobody ever goes to prison. Wake me up when somebody's in freaking prison. Otherwise, shut the hell up. And, I don't want to hear from you anymore is basically where I'm at right now with it. But, So if you stop that, you have a massive and you have high interest rates. I know there's a lot of people still bullish on housing, but look at the stats. I mean, housing is in a not a great place right now. So we have our system has done really well. I mean, we we made a lot of money through all of this, and our members locked in profits like massive. We use a combination of systems, but at the core, it's long term, high yield stocks, things like REITs, MLPs. Um, uh, BDCs, business development companies, master limited partnerships, real estate investment trusts, and more recently, some of the dividend derivative funds that are generating just outrageous yields. They have a lot of NAV decay, but the yields that they generate because they're trading options and managing a derivatives book are pretty awesome. So, we're we have our software, our Wealth Builder software that shows you how to do your own financial planning. It'll let you plug in every single thing that's on your balance sheet and crunch those numbers. It'll let you do projections. You can do simulations. You can actually, it's the only software of its kind that can predict your financial future based on your current balance sheet. And you can run simulations. Like you can take your existing balance sheet, everything you own, plus or minus everything you owe, all of your assets and all of your debts, all your liabilities, and you can plug it in and it will crunch the numbers. And we do onboarding calls and training calls. But this software, we created this because I got tired of listening to experts, and I would sit down, like I'm talking accountants, I'm talking attorney, it doesn't matter. And I would sit down and say, well, what about this or that? I'd have a question, and then I would always walk away with more questions than answers. It was just complicated, and couldn't get clear answers. I've realized over the years of being a business owner and an investor that everybody's selling something. And so when you sit down with a financial advisor, they're selling something. And it doesn't matter what it is. That's the financial services industry, certified financial product salespeople. So we created Wealth Builder in order to implement the True Wealth Formula system, which is restructure the balance sheet for cash flow, and hit your freedom number, hit your lifestyle number, hit those key numbers so that you know that your core needs are covered. And if you didn't have to work, you wouldn't have to. Now you're financially independent, and now you can focus on building a massive balance sheet, right? Building a fortress, what we call a fortress balance sheet. And that's what our members are doing. So let me check and let me see here what when I lived there, I always parked in a garage. Yeah, I mean, geez. I mean, if you live in Texas, guys, and you own a new vehicle, I mean, I don't understand people. They're so freaking stupid. You go into debt to buy a new vehicle. You're not financially independent yet. You don't have assets, and you don't even have a freaking roof to put your. I mean, how stupid financially do you have to be? And I'm sorry if I'm offending some people, but you should not be driving a new vehicle. Look at the cost of your insurance. Look at the cost of your vehicle. And you're not financially independent. That's the stupidest thing in the world financially. Vehicles are the number one depreciating assets. Like drive something that is a piece of that, you shouldn't, like, if you're not financially free and financially independent and a hailstorm comes, you shouldn't care. Like, you should just be like, yeah, have at it, let your roof get pounded in. I mean, I don't get that. That makes no sense to me. So I don't see any questions on here. So, that's fine. We can just stop, we'll stop the live here now. But anyway, so if you guys have questions, now's a good time. Or comments or whatever. So yeah, what does the market do from here? It's in freaking la la land, guys. I mean, it looks like it needs to roll over, right? But look at all this support. Look at massive support under here. You got the 100-day, the 200-day, and the freaking 20-day. And look at now the 50-day down here is curling up. So I don't know. I always lean kind of negative and a little bit bearish. I'm never as bullish as I should be. So, the truth is nobody knows. You get on X, and there's a lot. It's called fintech. There's just like all these experts, all these people. Just everybody's got an opinion. You sit and nobody agrees, right? There's just um, and it reminds me back in the day when I was in business, and you sit down and you have a legal issue. No attorneys agree. You sit down, none of the accountants agree. And so this is just the world that we're in, where you can line up 10 experts and get 10 different opinions, and you're more confused than you were before you talked to them. So at the end of the day, you need to be very careful about who you listen to, and you need to develop these skills yourself. You need to learn how to read a chart, and you need to have a system that doesn't care about the chart. And that's what we've done with True Wealth Formula, is really build that foundation that builds the cash flow assets, builds the balance sheet, irrespective of whatever the market is doing. In fact, we love it when the market is selling off, because we get pay raises when the market is selling off. So we lock in higher yields, and we compound even faster. The other thing that is you're hearing a lot about, and I posted this recently on X, which usually pipes over and posts over on my Facebook account as well. Sometimes that API doesn't, sometimes it goes down. But a lot of what's going on right now with the Trump admin, they're very pro-business, very pro-technology. They're trying to get deregulation and the so-called big stupid bill, with all their tax cuts and this and that. They know the thing is they're pushing to lower taxes, which is good, is needed. But guys, they also know, let me just tell you what's going on. Okay. You get a lot of these technologists, okay, the billionaire class, the tech class, and they are pumping this, this euphoric world that we're about to stumble into because of AI and robotics. And you get these idiots on there saying the end of work is near. No one's going to have to work and all of this. Let me just tell you guys something. Okay. And then you have these other people like, oh, I can't wait. Guys, that's not for you. Okay. It's not even for me. And I have plenty. Guys, that's for the billionaire class. Okay. This, and they're saying, well, I saw this guy, oh, well, the automobile, what did it do it destroyed the horse-drawn carriage industry, but it created more jobs. So you're telling me you think AI, like, it's already happening, like all the mega tech companies, they're not hiring this is the new news this week, is that they're not hiring entry-level positions because AI is doing it. So here's the thing, like, and the robotics is insane too. So you get this big pull, and they're using tariffs to bring back manufacturing. Well, and that needs to happen. It's stupid that it ever happened the way that it did from a national security issue. So a lot of what's going on right now with energy and AI and robotics and reshoring the manufacturing is national security. Okay, guys, it is not. I have to tell you this, because if you are not careful right now, you guys have to be smart right now. You need to be thinking about, like, I'm going to say 5 years. And I told you all back in 2020, I told you that this decade, at the end of this decade, you are not going to recognize the world. The world is going to completely change, and there's going to be two paths. And now we're 5 years away. And I'm telling you right now that the only reason why the globalists are on board with this reshoring is because they're going to get their labor arbitrage still. What does that mean? Offshoring. What happened to the U.S. Middle class? And not just the U.S., everywhere, Canada, Europe. What's happened to the middle class from globalism? Oh, it's improved people's lives. No, it hasn't. It's destroyed the middle class, okay? It's lifted more people globally out of poverty. Oh, yes, it has. That's true. But at what expense? Okay. So their idea, these are the globalists, these are the technologists, these are the people that are benefiting. And by benefiting, you have to be in the right companies, the right stocks, the right sectors. Okay. You got to be smart about this. So the ones that have been benefiting are telling you how great it's going to be for them. Okay. It's going to destroy so much jobs. Unemployment is going to go through the roof in the coming years. If you do not learn, if you do not embrace and learn how to use AI in your job every day, now, okay, yesterday, you're going to be replaced by the only people that are going to have jobs are the ones that do know how to use it. And then that's for a period of time and years. And for a while, I thought, well, blue collar work will be safe for a while. But now with the robotics, blue collar work's going to be threatened. So I have to call bullshit on the Trump admin a little bit. And I'm not picking on them because they have to sell the positives. And there is a lot of positives. But what they're not telling you, and what nobody's telling you, and the CEO of Anthropic, which is the leading AI for coding, it is replacing coders. Yes, it makes mistakes. Yes, you have to be a senior engineer to be able to identify and shore up those mistakes. Okay, great. What about the juniors? I mean, these AI, and I've used it, guys. The freaking AI cranks stuff out. Okay. So for years, it was like, learn to code, learn to code. Okay, great. Unless you're a senior engineer, if you're still learning, you have to start hacking with the AI. That's how you have to learn. But, he came out and he said, and there's a big news issue this week, and and I think he's being kind of conservative, but he's saying in the next few years, like, unemployment's going to go 10 to 20%, and it's going to be skyrocketing. So to me, this is the new thesis. This is the new lawn play. The Trump admin's very pro-business, and they're going to do whatever it takes to grow the economy, and that's great. But that means massive government spending. They are not going to stop the government spending. Hopefully, they put it into good projects, infrastructure, things like that, making the United States more competitive, and that's what they're focused on. So that's good. They now know that you're not going to stop the spending. They probably knew it all along, but it was a good sales pitch for those of us that have been, shaking our fists at the wind for decades, saying we're going bankrupt. Which is kind of a joke in and of itself, because if you can print endless money, how can you go bankrupt, right? So what does that mean? They're going to continue to devalue the currency. So they're very pro-growth. They're using tariffs to renegotiate, to bring back manufacturing domestically, et cetera, et cetera. What this is really all about, it's all Defense Department stuff, guys. Even Elon and Doge and all that. It's just, they're going in, they're auditing the systems, they're doing all the data mining, they're going to rebuild parallel systems, because you cannot refactor 60-year-old stupid government systems. And it's going to be AI friendly, and it's going to be basically AI. And, this is happening, guys. So, they're pumping this thing like it's going to create all these new jobs. And yeah, you know what? It's going to create a lot of new jobs. Not even a fraction of what it's going to destroy. Okay, so the part they're not lying. They're telling the truth. It's going to create a lot. It's going to create a ton of new jobs. Okay, and a ton of new opportunity. 1,000% for the thinkers, for the creative thinkers, for the creative problem solvers, for the critical thinkers. Everything I wrote about in True Wealth Formula years ago, and I'm talking about for years, right? But guess what? Most people are not like that. Like, most of the population, 90% of the population, they're not good critical thinkers. In fact, they're much worse today than they were in prior generations. They're creative. There's more creatives now, and that could be a good thing. But so the point is that it's going to be, guys, it's going to be crazy, devastating. It's going to be exciting and scary. And you need to make sure that you're doing everything you can, your family, people, you need to be aware of what's going on. Okay. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of this and that, but it's real. It is happening. And so, the globalists are still going to get their labor arbitrage. When you can replace cognitive tasks with AI and physical tasks with machines, and people are getting excited about this, because they're saying there will be no end to what we can create, no end to what we can build, that we'll have this advanced society that is just creating and solving problems and endlessly building problems. Guys, that's for the billionaire class. Like, you don't own those companies. You don't own that tech. You don't own all those robots. You don't own that AI. Okay. So the middle class, so if you understand the reality about you've heard the inequality gap, okay, the wealth gap, the income gap, inequality. And the liberals and the Democrats have done real well at playing this out over years and years, but they went off the rails with their stupid equal outcome equality definition. That's freaking idiotic, right? And anyway, I'm not even going to go off on that. It's just absolute nonsense. But what they're not telling you guys is that, bringing back manufacturing stuff, it's going to create some jobs, but it's just, there's no stopping this train, as has been said and quoted by many people. And so, it's going to be a very exciting time, but it's going to be scary for a lot of people. And you need to be smart. You need to be living below your means. You need to make sure that you are invested in the right kind of assets. I like hard assets right now. Gold really, has been just solid, right? I mean, look at gold, right? Bitcoin held up real well. It's starting to roll over right now, correct? But, during that correction, Bitcoin historically follows money flow, basically M2, global money supply, and basically the NASDAQ. The chart and the price patterns of Bitcoin totally follow a triple levered NASDAQ fund, TQQQ. If you overlay those, I've shown this before, but Bitcoin held up real well, and it's becoming more and more institutionalized, becoming more and more of the, various, not only countries, but states now. Texas has a bill passed. Don't know if it's signed yet, to add Bitcoin to their, state reserves. And so a lot of exciting things going on in the Bitcoin world, although it's pretty frothy right now. Like, there's a lot of euphoria. Makes me think that maybe it's, seasonality, or Bitcoin cycles should be running still through the end of this year. But, it's anybody's guess, really, because, it's everybody's pretty pumped up about it right now. And usually that's a sign of things topping out. You can see the 200-day moving average has been a really great place, minus the 2022. So you see this double top here, and then massive bear market. I mean, Bitcoin corrects by like 60, 70, 80%. This was a great dip, right? Dip right into the 200 DMA there, and then riding it here too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on that front. Silver's not doing as well as gold. It's more viewed as an industrial metal. Gold has really been, just kicking ass, man. So the point is that, you guys, I hope, especially if you're a TWF client, because we've been talking about it forever, but if you're not, first go to truewealthformula.com, sign up. We don't charge hardly anything for that membership, and upgrade to pros, get in our group chat and be on the monthly group coaching calls. We have a ton of new trainings that we've done, course material. You'll get access to the entire True Wealth Formula implementation program, which is basically implementing the core wealth building system. And then as a pro member, you get access to a lot of other material that will show you kind of how we're playing this. But back to the AI and robotics thing. I think that you got to be careful, because there's a lot of propaganda being pushed about it on the upside of it, but you have to ask yourself, who's going to actually be the ones that are benefiting from that upside, right? It's the capital holders, it's the capitalists, it's the baron class. If you're, they're going to keep using inflation and taxation. Why are they trying to cut taxes? Well, what do you think is going to happen to the tax base when freaking AI and robots are doing all the work, right? Okay, so the tax base is going to collapse. So they're going to have to essentially tax these multinational corporations, and Um, a robot tax, I don't know. And then there's going to be a UBI, your universal basic income. Otherwise, you're going to have civil unrest. You're going to have the civil unrest regardless, okay? And probably this stuff won't get implemented until civil unrest happens. But by 2028 election, you're going to see the number one issue being talked about. For the last several years, it's been immigration. But the top issue that's going to be talked about in 2028 is AI and robotics. Okay. So, I don't know if you're hearing it here first, but I'm telling you that right now. The So unemployment's going to go through the roof. The tax base is going to collapse. They're going to keep devaluing the dollar. They're going to have to tax the corporations in order to subsidize just basic living. So universal basic income is going to be a thing. And you could just have people basically, you know, living in little mini, 400 square foot, shipping container, type societies, and who knows what. So, that's kind of where it's going, unless they can do something else to. I mean, what are people going to do? I mean, I don't think it's a good thing. Like, people are saying, "Oh, it's going to be great, the end of work." I mean, are you kidding me? Like if you are a normal person and you're not productive, you're miserable. Okay. If you are unproductive, you probably are miserable. But you'll say you like it, but your life is miserable. Okay. Being productive makes you happy. It's good for your mental health, good for your physical health, having a job, having a purpose, right? And if you say, well, people will do what they want to do and they will still contribute. Well, some people will. Have you looked around lately? Just go walk around in your average local Walmart. I mean, you got people that with bed heads on and pajamas. They're too lazy to even freaking take a shower and put on decent clothes to go spend their government freaking food stamps or whatever, the EBT or whatever it is, to go buy food out in public. I mean, there's no. So anyway, I'm excited about the upside. It's super exciting, but I'm just giving you guys, if you haven't heard it from somebody, I hope you take what I'm saying here today. So I think that the play moving forward, regardless of whatever happens with the markets this year, the play is to make sure that you are being really smart and you're getting your capital base, your balance sheet built up as quick as possible. You're living below your means. You're getting rid of stupid assets, dumbass assets on your balance sheet that are costing you money every year. You're getting it in. You're plowing into cash flow assets and hard assets. So, gold, crypto, Bitcoin. You got to be smart Bitcoin with crypto. Lots of scams out there. Nvidia, if they get a good pullback, it'd be nice if we go into another sell-off. Nvidia, pretty elevated. This is all AI, Tesla's building out the robots, it's like, oh, you're going to have, I love Elon. Optimus robot will do your dishes for you. Every house will have one. Bro, he's freaking building out the next generation of freaking, Defense Department military, man. Come on, dude. I mean, Starlink and SpaceX and, that's all Defense Department stuff, contracts, right? So, yeah, brilliant, man. Sell it to the public. Amazing. This isn't a knock on Elon. He's a genius. But, if you think that, yeah, it's gonna be great. I would love to have an Optimus Prime around and pull my weeds and Optimus Prime, freaking Terminator robot, do the dishes and the whole deal, man. But how do you know that thing isn't like gonna go like full Terminator mode? If you say the wrong thing and everything's listening to you. My phone's listening to me right now. And it's just one election away from being on a watch list. Like right now, we have a administration that's very pro-freedom, pro-individual liberty. But look at the court system, look at Congress. unless and Trump's gone in for less than 4 years. So, um, unless there's a new, uh, regime that is pro freedom and the whole thing, that stuff's got to get locked in. So anyway, let me check and see if you got questions on anything I just mentioned or talked about. Feel free to ask, and I'll try to elaborate. I know I kind of rant a lot and sometimes get a little crazy. Okay, Tina, what are your thoughts about infinite banking using whole life? I know you have talked about family banks. I'm really, even though we use it, like automatic paychecks is high yield dividend. So I get the marketing need for using a term, but infinite banking is a marketing term. Okay. So yeah, the universal whole life IULs or index life policies, whole life, whatever. I mean, if you can make sense of the numbers that they can present to you, because I've sat down with these insurance salespeople who are pitching this, and they will show you their projections and everything, but if you ask them how to actually like explain the numbers, they can't. So um, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that you need to make sure that you understand the math and the cost, right? Because you're paying a commission cost. You're paying if you're using depending on the contract, the policy, um, your insurance cost as you age. A lot of these, depending on again the way it's set up, are repurchase. They're rebuying the life insurance component every year, and as you age, that's getting more and more and more expensive. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, if you like it and it works, and you know, um, I mean, some people love those things because you just buy these policies and um, they pitch all these different benefits and everything. You're the one that has to do the math and make sure that it makes sense to you. I kind of shy away from things that are heavily promoted and marketed with middlemen, with salespeople. Um, and so I like stuff where there's the minimum amount of middle people, and you can sort of kind of like really get your hands on it and understand like what's going on. Now, to be fair, there's plenty of high yield funds that are hard to get a handle on their business model, but they're publicly traded, they have liquidity, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have to sit down with somebody to explain it to me. I mean, there's tons of information. And nowadays you could probably take a whole life policy and upload it to Grok and have Grok explain it to you. That's, hey, good idea if you haven't done that. Or if you sit down with these insurance salespeople that, promote things like infinite banking, you can take their proposal and what they said and use Grok to help break it down and that sort of thing. But just know that like with all of these AIs and Grok included, the way you phrase the prompt and it's going to determine a lot. And just because it tells you something doesn't mean it's fact or it's true. A lot of times they're pulling from publicly accessible information. And guess what? There's a lot of nonsense, especially in mainstream media publications. Like if you ask Grok about the COVID origins of COVID and the COVID and the COVID shots and all of that, Grok will tell you because it's been absolutely proven at this point that COVID was man-made. It was made in labs. It was funded by the US. And that the shots were nothing, that they did way more damage. And anybody who doesn't know this at this point is just, I don't know what you're doing. You're just sucking on CNN's something, believing them. But there's been plenty of independent analysis and tests and all kinds of stuff. So, but Grok will, and all the AIs will tend to pull from public, whatever is common public data. And so sometimes you have to push back and say, hey, what about this or whatever? In other words, you kind of have to be smart enough to ask the right questions. This is life, right? This is all of life. And it's no different with these AI agents. You have to still do your own critical thinking and still have enough situational awareness and basically have a good idea of the pluses and negatives and ask follow-up questions. And you'll see that, they will, like I had a thing with Grok the other day, and he told me something, and I said, I just said, I don't agree with that, and this is why. And then he came back and he goes, you know what, you're absolutely right. And then he went on this whole, and he explained the perspective that I was sharing, and then it revised its whole thing that it told me previously. It didn't necessarily like say, oh, I'm wrong and that's all out. It just re-updated that whole summary to include that new perspective. And it really didn't have an argument for the point that I brought up. And so, but if you don't know to do that, then the quality, the output, garbage in, garbage out, right? So you need to be aware of that. But if it was me, I would be using Grok for stuff like that. Okay. What are your thoughts on Misty, Tesla, Nvidia? Their yields are insane, almost too good to be true. Yeah, I mean, you need to understand the underlying. I mean, these are some of the derivative funds that we have a bunch of them that we talk about, and strategies that we cover with our pro members, David. And the thing is yeah, the yields are high but do you know where those yields are coming from? Do you understand the options market and the derivatives market to understand where is that profit coming from, and why do they have NAV decay? These funds are structured in such a way that they will have net asset value decay over time. But the other big factor is the underlying. What is the price action of the underlying? Like NVDY underlying is NVIDIA. And so what does that chart look like? And who is managing the fund? These funds are managed by different people and different traders. So, there's a lot of variables that go into it, but we're using them and we're loving them, and if you're if you're a pro member, then about some of the strategies we've discussed lately, which is just insane. Like the last call we did was a full-blown income replacement strategy, and how to do the risk management, the whole deal, and so these are some of the things, some of the new tools that are out there that didn't exist a few years ago, and so if you're not a part of a group like ours, and I know you are, David, but talking to just other people, if you're not paying attention and all you're doing is listening to CNN or Fox News or any of these other freaking retards, you're not going to know. You're only going to know what they want you to know and what they tell you, which is all marketing, all sales, all propaganda. Okay, these aren't experts; these are salespeople. Okay, I was marketing for years, and so I unfortunately I can just spot it, a million miles away. And also, unfortunately, it's very hard for me to market now. I don't really market True Wealth Formula, so I kind of rely on you guys to spread the good word out there and everything. So I just got too burnt out on it. I don't like to write sales copy and to do marketing much anymore. So much rather work with our clients and create new strategies like we've been doing, and new course material. And we have our new alert system to let you know when the dip is happening, where you can buy and lock in higher yields, get paid more. That's all set up now for our pro members. So based off of an algorithm that I've been running now for like 2 years, and it's just awesome. I mean, the thing is just 90% freaking hit rate. Amazing, right? So that one thing alone, our pro membership is like $99 a month. And that one little thing we just added to our twfsystems.com is enough to pay for the pro membership by 1,000 times over, just because if you follow that algorithm and you follow those alerts, you're going to be locking in higher yields and compounding at a higher rate. So, but anyway, the point is that going back to everything that's going on with AI and robotics and the trend, if you're not paying attention, you wake up in 2 or 3 or 4 years and you're like, oh my God, what happened? And so some of these high yield derivative funds are a tool to combat this, to get ahead, okay, to hedge against what's coming down the pipeline. I would just say that if for any of you guys that think that if your world is based on the income you make, your earned income, you have to start building that capital base, okay? Like yesterday, aggressively. And you also need to be working on developing new skills so that you are insulated and an asset in this new economy and not a liability, because the liabilities are going to get ditched, right? Guys, it's already happening, right? Like Microsoft, Google, they're laying off thousands and thousands of people, okay? They're not hiring. There's people, they're not hiring new junior devs and new analysts and like, this is going to be the most devastating thing that you've ever seen in your life. Okay. And that is a big statement for me to make. Short of, now there's another thing that could happen, but that's a totally different conversation. And that's nothing any of us have control over, but I'm talking about cosmic cyclical events that have gone on since the beginning of this planet, since the beginning of time. And that we're due for some wild stuff on this planet. So the planet might just say, hey, I've had enough of you guys, and, do its, every 12,000 year, shake up. And so who knows? But best case scenario is you learn new skills. You become more of an asset because you understand how to, and you use AI to augment your job every day. And you build your capital base so that your capital, your unearned income, your balance sheet is making you more money than you make with your earned income. So in other words, you're using your earned income to feed your unearned income, to build your unearned income, to build your balance sheet. And you're doing it in assets that are going to benefit from the US dollar continue. The debt is not going away. They're going to keep just spending. It's not going to end. And so you have to, there's an amazing window right now. But you got to be focused, right? And time is not on your side. So, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it's just an incredible opportunity. But if you're not awake, you're not paying attention, and you're lazy, UBI is your future. I hate to say it like that. I'm sorry, but I've been just saying the same message for so many years and we have clients, great clients, many of them that are just kicking ass and doing it. And then we have other ones that have just been around forever. And I don't know what to say to wake you up. It's like, get in the freaking game, step up, start prioritizing learning this stuff. No one will do for you what you're not willing to do for yourself. And I hate to tell you this, but if you just sign up for some $29 a month or even a $99 a month membership and you're not engaged, you're not active, you're not taking action, you're not taking this seriously, like signing up and paying something is not make the change, right? I mean, we have crazy results. Our subscribers, our clients are just kicking butt. But if you're not actually following the system and doing it and engaged, another year is going to go by, 2 years is going to go by. Okay. Sharon, I'm embarrassed to ask this because I haven't studied up on it, but where does NAV decay and when there's definitely a factor, when that's definitely a factor on a stock? Well, I mean, it never ends, it could continue. It depends on the actual structure of the fund. If you read the prospectus, which are these big fat, I mean, it's the way that these funds are structured. So the idea, total return is what matters. So, if it's your dividends plus the underlying, right? And the price action. So if you have NAV decay, net asset value decay, and you can have this with closed-end funds too. So it's not just these, these derivative funds, but they tend to have quite a bit. We cover this all the time in our MGC Pro calls and Q&As and conversations, with our pro members. But it's kind of a slow grind. Net NAV decay can just kind of grind away at the underlying share price, right? So, but if you're compounding on drip and you are essentially your dollar cost averaging in over time and you have a high yield, then you're increasing your share count every single month. We even have weekly payers now, and in time, that asset is kicking off. It's already paid for itself. You have risk adjusted basis 0, which means you can pull out 100% of your original investment and plant that seed somewhere else, and the rest will just ride forever. Okay. And just keep compounding and compounding. So, just saw the video about new quantum computers coming out sooner than expected, and the guy was warning that Bitcoin could be in yeah. I mean, I've been talking about this for years. Could be in danger of getting hacked. Just wondering your thoughts. I mean, yeah, it's a real risk. I think that I've been talking about this for quite a while, but right now Bitcoin's doing great, and a lot of people believe that it's BS and that it's much farther away. I'm talking about the quantum computing, but it has been in the news a lot lately. There's been a lot of studies. Is it actual in live, or is it just like they proved the concept? So it is a threat. I think there's a solution that the Bitcoin community, but they'd all have to agree on it to do a fork and a new chain for the network. But that's something that's going to have to be dealt with at some point. And the nation states are also going to be because places like the U.S. is they haven't formally announced it. They keep hinting it, but having even JD Vance at the blockchain conference did a speech, and I think he even mentioned the U.S. strategic reserve, including Bitcoin in it and crypto. I don't know if there's been an actual formal. There is a strategic reserve, and there is that, but it's not like they're publishing the amount. They could there's got a lot of gold too. They could revalue, but they said they don't want to do that because that would destroy the dollar. So it's very complicated stuff. But anyway, yeah, quantum computing is a real threat to Bitcoin, in my opinion. I know there's others that think it's not a threat and it's way too far off and it's all hogwash. And but I do think it is a concern. I think that that's going to have to be dealt with in some form or fashion. Quantum computing, Jesus, good Lord, crazy. Okay, Mara Lou has some good comments about the Bitcoin conference. They're fully aware of the issue and a ton of work and background of just security, big money in Bitcoin, who will probably help finance it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Linda says robots will be great for assisted living because we can't find caregivers that want to work. Yeah, great point. So yeah, that's again, those are the upside on the consumer side. So yeah, there's all kinds of wonderful scenarios that AI and robotics is going to help with. But I don't know that enough people are talking about the downside and the risks that you guys that are somewhat in your control. If you're awake, you're paying attention, and you're not lazy. If you're diligent and you're paying attention, then you're going to be fine, and it's going to be a beautiful world in theory because of perfect example right there by Linda. Totally agree with that. Home care, all kinds of stuff. There's going to be a point where that's the promise, right? That's sort of the utopian view. I hope and pray that is the world we're in 5 years. I hope that the government has come up with some kind of solution to stabilize society, because this is going to be the most destabilizing transition ever. Um, Technology is the number one contributor to inequality, and I know that is confusing, but when they say, well, productivity is going to go through the roof, well, that means inequality is going to go through the roof, because there's a direct correlation there. And the other factor is crony capitalism and governments bailing out the too big to fails instead of helping the people, right? So it is. I'm not. I mean, uh, I'm mostly a capitalist, but I think that crony capitalism, where governments are, working for corporations and bailing out too big to fails, that's messed up, and that's the system we've been in for forever. You know, Capitalism is supposed to penalize stupid, bad ideas, and also give you a chance to start over. So I I don't want to see. I'm not a socialist, but I don't know how this ends. Capitalism is going to destroy itself on this path. So it's going to have to be a new system that is like some kind of like hybrid. Why will capitalism destroy itself? Because there won't be anybody to buy anything. I mean, sure, the rich will, but there's just. I hope you guys understand. If you don't own the production, you don't benefit from the production. You're a consumer. So you have to be a producer, and you need to be an owner of capital, right? And an owner of the production. So, but these trends, that's not what it's happened. The middle class over the last several decades is getting squeezed. Why can nobody afford homes now? The kids don't even want to work, right? They don't even have the desire to work. They don't have the desire to even go out on dates. The younger generation right now. It's really sad. So, there's a lot of incredible positives to come from this, but you gotta be aware of the negatives. But that is a really good positive. I agree with that. That one is going to be awesome. There's going to be all kinds of use cases that are incredible. A lot of dangerous professions that, frankly, men do. I'm not trying to be, extra misogynist, but oil rigs, firefighters, stuff like that, like building society, like building like all of the infrastructure and everything. So yeah, I mean, robots will do it, and I don't know what the men are going to do. They're going to be really, it's going to be tough, rougher than it is now. Brooke, lots of data too from Grok. Use it more like suggesting programs for brokers that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, good. Yeah. Tina, thank you. I've always shied away from whole life, and I don't take financial advice from a salesperson who have a smaller net worth than us. Exactly. But it keeps coming up. I'm very interested in family banking structures. I've backed off from the whole family bank concept. I mean, I have a whole chapter, in here on it, and but I think at the end of the day, what's the underlying asset? How are you capitalizing that asset? And then how are you leveraging that asset, right? So the idea of a family bank works best when it's coupled with a family business that is established and multi-generational. And frankly, I hate to say it, but old money. New money businesses, and particularly today in today's high-tech world, the rate of creative destruction is happening so quickly. And what happens nowadays when there's an estate event is that the next generation, the heirs, they just liquidate everything, and they just want to live off of the money. And I've seen it so many times. Properties get liquidated, businesses get liquidated, and because families are split up and they're all doing their own thing, and nobody, it's too hard to agree and have families are just having a positive family environment is tough enough. Now mix business into it, mix assets into it. I talk about it in the book, and I've taught, but I don't cover it too much lately, because I think that while all of us should be aware of it and we should strive towards it, and it is the right model, you also have to be smart to know what you can and can't do and be realistic. You can't control, you have zero control over what somebody else is going to do, especially when you're dead. Um, so, and I'm just saying that 99%, it's going to liquidate and live. They're just going to liquidate what you got and live off of it. So, I mean, I hate to say that and be kind of negative about it, but um, now, if you're talking about having an asset base and being able to provide, favored financing situations, if you've got that much capital and you've got someone in the family that is just hardworking and really diligent and proven themselves and would be a good investment to make, okay, family bank, great idea. But as a method of just like, I mean, uh, it's just really easy for people to get entitled and to then say, well, why am I paying interest? It's a family, I mean, it just, or an in-law comes in and they're like, well, wait a second. They don't understand it because they weren't raised the same way or whatever. So it's just sometimes, it can be, I found there's a lot of work and, some of the deals that I did and stuff that we did, I stepped back and I said, you know what? Uh, right now is not the time for me personally to be doing this, but, that doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. You just have to be realistic about the amount of resources it takes in both capital and time and expertise and the dynamic in the relationship dynamic. And you just need to know that is basically billionaire status model, right? So, or very established multi-generational family businesses that are locked in and, going nowhere and generating free cash flow. And, then the family bank model coupled with that is pretty cool, but it's a lot of work. You have to understand the whole concept of family bank is its own business. It's its own company. It requires bylaws and management and bookkeeping. And I mean, it's a lot, So, okay. But you don't need to do it through insurance. You can do it through your brokerage account. You can do it. There's a lot of ways you can do it. Heck, you can do it with Bitcoin now. You can do all kinds of stuff. If you understand the capital structure and how you can get liquidity out of an existing, like even like hard assets, how you create liquidity out of that, how you create leverage, wise leverage, not stupid leverage, things like that. Okay. Well, I just had a full conversation with an AI robot for one of our customers today. We weren't sure if it was a robot or not. That kept calling and asked for info. I asked, are you a real person or an AI robot? And it confirmed AI robot run by such and such. Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, guys, you get spam phone calls. They're not even, I mean, they already are. They have been for a long time, just recordings and this and that. But yeah, it's just going to be like AI, calling you and telling you your mom is, in terrible need of help and you need to wire some money and, like the scams and the stuff is just going to be crazy. So, okay. I don't see any other questions. Great. Oh no, sorry. That call was fire. That's from Katie. Which call? I wonder which call she's talking about. Oh, the one that I did while I was in Miami eating hamburgers. It was fun. Okay. Or maybe it was the March 3rd, 5th, whatever it was, call. Okay. If I buy a piano, I am a piano. If I buy a piano, I am a piano. Okay. If I buy a piano, that doesn't make me a piano player. Oh, okay. Yeah. What else we got here? Okay, I don't know. Am I missing any? BJ England, I've a soon-to-be high school graduate. What are your thoughts on different paths kids that age should take in an AI robotic economy? Dude, this may or may not resonate with you, and you can take it for whatever it's worth. I grew up on the streets, not college educated. My personal opinion for years is that unless you are going to get a professional degree in something, nobody should be in college in this day and age. The cost, the indoctrination, these are Marxist schools, even the good ones that you think are some Texas, this and that. They are the college professors are absolute Marxists across the board. Um, these institutions are brainwashing and programming kids to be socialists. And the costs, the government got involved in funding university, and everything the government touches turns to shit. And that's why automobiles cost more. That's why college educations cost more. That's why housing costs more. As soon as the government gets involved and starts regulating and funding, providing lending, prices go up. So I just think that it's really, really sad. And, there's a lot of kids, and the parents are the ones that push and encourage it, because there's a lot of ego involved in society. And my kid's going to this school, my kid's going to that school. Well, there's a lot of kids right now with these stupid, they got $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in debt with stupid degrees, right? Like, gender studies degree or what, God knows what, and so again, this is probably maybe not what you would want to hear, BJ, and I wouldn't try to tell you what to do at all with your family and your kids. But in my mind, for a very long time, I think college education is if you have a very specific chosen professional. I'm talking about attorney, physician, a career path that is going to require a professional degree. Okay. Everything else, kids should be going to freaking trade school. Okay. I mean, our education system in this country is a disaster, a absolute freaking disaster. We need more trade schools in this country. Kids should be tested by the time they're in ninth grade. By the time they're done with eighth grade, the decision should already be identified that they are either going to be on a path into a professional college type education or going to trade school. And the trade school should be starting in high school. When I was a kid, and maybe when you were a kid too, we had summer jobs. And guess what? Construction, right? I was a commercial diver. I was a dive guide. I was working construction. I was working landscaping. Kids don't do that anymore. They sit around playing video games. And so, I think that you can learn so much. I mean, look at YouTube. Look at what you can learn on YouTube. So for kids, they got to learn to love to work. And most kids don't like learning to love to work. They don't like working. So, but, if you can get your kid into summer, doing, learning a trade, working, getting that fulfillment of what it feels to have a hard day's work and to learn a skill, right? So it comes down to like the temperament of the kid. What is their, what are they interested in? What are they good at? But you asked specifically about, the AI and robotic economy. Well, you can learn a ton of stuff. You can get, you can learn, you can code apps now with platforms that are out there that have AI agents that are embedded in. And so the point is that it doesn't matter how young you are. You don't have to wait. There's no path. You don't have to have a path. Go this and that, and then you get to do this. No, start now. If you're interested in something, start building apps, start coding, start building stuff, create value, market it, learn how to market it. Like, learn how to create and create value and solve problems. Start working with AI now. Start working with your hands now. Start learning business now. So that's my take on it. I mean, if kids worked young and they saved and they didn't go to college and get scammed, again, maybe 10% should be in college, honestly, right? And probably 50% should be in a trade school, and the other 40% should just be like freaking self-made entrepreneur, just building a business, right? Start a business. I mean, there's all mowing lawns, pressure washing driveways and houses and roofs and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you can be super young, and the startup capital is hard, almost nothing, and you can be profitable your first month, right? So um, those are my take. That's my take, man. I mean, I'm not saying that. For me, huh. If I had kids, like all my kids are older now. My youngest now is like 25. So, um, and he worked construction for several years, and he was in California for a month. Now he's in Hawaii, and he's gonna just work. He's picking up side jobs while he's there, and he's maybe gonna go out to Australia, and he's got contacts, and we got family out there and people, and he has a trade that he can do anywhere, and he's young, and he's like, I better do this now before I have a family and locked in and tight, have all those responsibilities. So anyway, but if I had kids that were like, high school and whatnot, man, I would rather. It would take a lot for me to want them to be in college. I'll tell you that. Based on what's out there now today, it's just this system in this country is a disaster. Again, that is not an absolute. It depends on the kid, man. I mean, if he's smart and bright and hardworking, yeah, and as long as you can insulate, the kid against the Marxism that is spread in these schools, then it might be a good thing. Okay, Linda, there are more multimillionaires now than there's ever been. Here in Scottsdale, Arizona, there are 14,800 millionaires. Yeah, but so what? The quality of life sucks. That's because of inflation, right? The average young family, they're not having kids, they're not buying houses. A vehicle now is $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. I mean, so yeah, no, I don't, for me, and I'm not trying to be negative towards the comment. It's just nominal numbers are meaningless. It's one of the things we talk about in TWF all the time. Money is all about ratios. It is not about, by nominal numbers, I mean $1, 10,000, 100,000, $1 million. So yeah, that's great. And that's also not surprising because it's inequality. The middle class has gotten crushed. You have more poor and more rich. So what made America great, the reason why America, for a lot of things, but what made the American dream and our system what it was, is that we had the strongest middle class in history. A strong middle class creates stability in a society. When you have a polarized society and you have a weak middle class and you have a winner take all, system, you have an unstable society. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that there's more millionaires. Of course, there is. There's more wealth being created for the creatives, for the ones that can think and create and produce. There's a ton of opportunity out there right now. So a lot of what I've been talking about here, I'm talking about society, guys. If you think that you can just go alone and like get rich and everything's going to be great because you're smart enough to do it, which is what a lot of these technologists and billionaires, like that's their thinking. Others know. Elon knows. Trump knows. There's others that understand. You have to stabilize the middle class. Like you cannot have just inequality, that gap that is just getting worse and worse and worse. Okay, so don't confuse what I'm saying with, there's nothing that I'm saying that says there's not more opportunity. There's tons of opportunity, insane amount of opportunity. But society is becoming more and more fragile. Okay. And there are serious repercussions to that. But yeah, great comment. And yeah, absolutely. There's more billionaires today than ever before, but the other thing is you have to understand it's home values, right? So like if you bought a home and you just sat on it for 30 years, you're a millionaire, in any of these cities. So it's, but great. Now what? You're going to sell it and go where? Do what? Uh, so these numbers they're, they're fun to throw around, but they're functionally like, okay, the last MGCs. Oh, okay, Katie, you're talking about the one that was fired. Yeah. Right. Is that what you meant? I'm scrolling back up. That call was, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, it was. The recording's there. And it's on my list to build it out into a full-blown course, so it's more evergreen, but the replay is on our site for our MGC Pro members. Okay. Is there a way, this is Ruchi, is there a way to go back and watch this entire live session if you already mentioned how to earlier? Please? Oh, no worries. Yeah. This live session right now, yeah, there'll be a replay on my Facebook page. Hans Johnson Live is the handle. So it looks like you're watching on our Facebook. So yeah, the replay will be there if you missed the beginning of it. If you're talking about the call that we were just talking about that we did just a couple weeks ago for our TWF monthly group coaching pro members, where we went through a freaking insane income replacement strategy. And I'm talking about being able to replace your full-time income in like as little as a year, right? Like or faster. That replay is on our site and it's there and it will be there. I don't know why I still have this chart up. I don't think I need the chart anymore. Unless you guys like looking at the chart. Oh, that's even worse. What am I doing here? Boom. I think I can do it like this. There we go. Okay, now I can actually talk to you guys. Okay. Ruchi. So yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming you're talking about this live right here. So this entire live session. Yes, sir. Yep. Replay will be there. And then we post it on our community website too, our social learning site, twfsystems.com. I'll probably get the replay up here after this is done here. I'm going to end it here in a couple minutes. Okay. BJ says we are on the same page. Good stuff. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, cool. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to go off on that whole thing, but I mean, I have some strong opinions about it. So, may not be the right opinion, but that's how I see it. I think our educational system from top to bottom or bottom to top in this country is an absolute disaster, freaking train wreck. You guys know that in Danny and I were in Japan in December, just a couple months ago, and we hired a guide to just take us all around the city and show us stuff and everything. And we stopped to grab a snack, and I was like, I don't know what it was, like some kind of protein bar or something. I don't know. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, and we're following around all over the whole city, all over Tokyo. And I'm like, I can't find a trash can anywhere. I'm like trying to get rid of this trash. I'm kind of getting annoyed. I'm holding this trash. Where's the freaking trash can? But there's no there's no litter anywhere. No litter anywhere in the city at all. And no trash cans. And finally I stop him and I'm like, hey, is there a trash can around here? And why is there no litter, but there's also no trash cans? And he smiles and he goes, well, in Japan, he goes, the kids don't learn reading, writing, and arithmetic until 4th grade. He said, up until 4th grade, all the kids are learning in school is manners. And the school has no janitors because the kids do all of the cleaning. They clean the bathrooms, the toilets, the classes, the hallways, the school, the whole everything. And so for the first 4 years in school, all the kids learn is manners. And he goes, and that's why there's no trash in the city anywhere, and there's no trash cans anywhere, because we're taught that your trash is your trash. It's not somebody else's trash, and it's not the city's trash, but it's your trash. You keep it, you get rid of it when you get home or whatever it is. And Danny and I looked at each other and we were just like, wow, holy crap. That is freaking amazing. Unbelievable. So, yeah, we have a our education system in the US is a freaking train wreck. It is a catastrophe. And I'm not even talking about, I mean, like just the quality of the education and the outcome. So the numbers are terrible across the board. The fact that we are paying, I pay for this property here 25 grand a year in property taxes. Kerr County, Texas is one of the wealthiest counties in Texas because there's a lot of retirees that have no mortgage on their properties and some big ranches out in the hill country, billionaire, oil money, whatever. They've got to be collecting so much freaking money. And I've got potholes on this town when I drive around, I mean, it's insane. And so that's going to the school, and they build stadiums in Texas because they care more about football. I mean, it's just stupid. We are losing the planetary race of education, right? The only thing America is good at is innovation, which that's borderline sometimes, and marketing. America is good marketers. We're good salespeople, and we're just innovators. We're willing. We're willing to break rules, basically. But we have an absolute catastrophe in our U.S. educational system, and that's not even including the Marxist professors and faculty. It's just insane. So kids come out and they're really screwed up, like really bad. So not only are they not getting an education, they're basically getting indoctrinated into becoming a debt slave, coming out with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in debt with no education, don't even have a mortgage on a house. If you're going to be in that much debt, you might as well own a property that backs it. And they come out stupid. They come out brainwashed, believing in this, communist nonsense. So, anyway, got me going again. Sorry. Okay. Trisha, my daughter had to write a college paper against her beliefs in order to pass. The indoctrination is ridiculous. Thank God we raised her to know the difference. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to teach them and raise them, but that's not even a guarantee, so there's a lot of things that could, affect that. So anyway, I'm not trying to be like so negative on it, but it is. I mean, it's a high risk is what I'm saying, right? So just, if you're going to take that risk, why are you taking it? That's the way I see it. What is the real risk of college? And I already mentioned it. Okay. So what's the benefit? Make sure that benefit is better than the risk, and that your kid is resilient enough to be able to handle that. Because a lot of them they go in resilient, and then they just whatever, get worked down or whatever. Okay. Replying to Richie Mythal, great. Thanks, Hans. Yes, referring to this live session. Okay, not your 2-day call. Okay. Yeah, right on. Okay. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up. And if you want to sneak in a last minute question, you can. But going to wrap this up here. And I will get the replay posted for our members here very soon. And just test something here. Cool. Okay. I'll get the replay posted on our site at twfsystems.com. If you are not a member, you can go to truewealthformula.com and you can get some more information there, and you can sign up and become a member. You'll get access to our Wealth Builder software. You can do all of your financial planning and projections. You can drop in your whole portfolio, and it'll tell you. We have just the math that software does is insane. It will predict your financial future. It's the only kind of software in existence that does that. You'll get access to the full TWF implementation program, training, all of our, we have a whole onboarding system. If you're a pro member, you get access to our VIP support team and coaching team. You can do phone calls. You can do the whole deal. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here today. And, you can watch the replay, sort through it. For those of you that are MGC members, you can reach out through the group chat. And if you have follow-up questions, I can answer those there. Otherwise, I think that's it. God bless, guys. Have an awesome weekend, huh? Thanks for being here today. Appreciate you all.